How you guys doing today? Welcome back to the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Manny Maradiege. Today is Monday, September 2nd, starting a new month, but also we're just a few days away from starting the official 2024 NFL regular season. We have two games on store for us this week, on Thursday and on Friday for the first time in NFL history, but not only that, we're going to get to those games later on in the week, but today I thought I'd cover some more things that will impact the NFL season as a whole for a couple teams, right? Starting with the 49ers. What is going on with Trent Williams? We are now in a practice week officially with games taking place on the weekend. So when is that contract going to get done for Trent Williams? Then also we're going to talk about, similarly with Ja'Marr Chase and the Cincinnati Bengals, what is their status looking like? Is Ja'Marr Chase going to hold out into the regular season? Similar to Trent Williams, we're going to get to that in the next segment. And then also, Josh Jacobs obviously signs with the Green Bay Packers this offseason, but there was some interest from the Chiefs and the New York Giants apparently. So we're going to get into why he said he didn't want to join the Chiefs especially, and some other reasons on why that was, and of course some more topics down the line as well. So make sure to stay tuned, and also please remember to like, follow, and subscribe to the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast. But before we jump into the segment on Trent Williams, if you guys ever have any questions, comments, or opinions you'd like to share on anything I say or on any of the topics, we have an awesome opportunity for you guys to do that here. It's always better when you guys add your input into anything we say on not just this show, but also all the shows across the network. And now there's an easy way to do that. You guys are able to drop your thoughts in the chat box using the new Super Chat feature we have available for you guys starting recently. Just click the $sign at the bottom of the chat box to send in your Super Chat. This guarantees that your message gets on air, and it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. Not only that, but it does help out this channel a lot, and also it does bring a lot more excitement, a lot more interactive action onto this show. So go ahead and use that whenever you guys get the chance. But also, if you do prefer to use the alternative option, you can still use the tip and donations link, gsmcpodcast.net, to tip, donate, and leave your comment or question there. We always appreciate your guys' amazing support, and we're always so thankful to have you guys as part of our community by leaving your thoughts with the new Super Chat feature available to you guys on these shows. But now, we can start off by talking about Trent Williams, right? Arguably as important and as significant as it was with Brandon Ayuk, right? We spent so much time talking about Brandon Ayuk, and I think most people got to the point, especially if your team wasn't involved, anything to do with Brandon Ayuk, you just wanted to stop hearing his name and stop hearing all the rumors that came out every other day. But while that all was going on, Trent Williams also was not showing up to the 49ers practices. He was absent from training camp. He is holding out as opposed to Brandon Ayuk, who was there but just was not practicing. And now we are 7 days away exactly from the start of their regular season, because they do kick off on Monday against the New York Jets at Levi Stadium, and Trent Williams still isn't there. We are in a practice week, and we are getting closer to, getting this deal done, hopefully, because you'd think that now during the week you want all your players there to game plan for what the New York Jets are going to throw at you. Obviously, all the hype around them, Rodgers coming in, their defense, one of the better defenses in the NFL, and you don't have your starting left tackle there. Why is that, and when can we expect something to happen, right? It seems like there is still a bit of a standoff, apparently, because Williams continues to hold out because of no movement, obviously, on his deal. And ESPN's Jeremy Fowler actually reported over the weekend on where Trent Williams stands on this situation and what could we expect going forward from this deal, when he mentioned that the 49ers have work to do. I'm told Trent Williams is not happy, and the threat of him missing games is real. A lot of times, that's a negotiation pull. I don't sense it is right now. He's made $150 million in his career. He's got no guaranteed money left on his deal, and that also, Jeremy Fowler added that the 49ers and Williams remain at a standstill over his contract. But that last statement there is the biggest issue with all of this. He's got no guaranteed money left on his deal. And I know Trent Williams is clearly a veteran in the NFL, right? He's clearly in his latter stages of his career, but he still remains one of the best left tackles and arguably one of the 49ers' best players just in general. And he is still like 34, 35 years old. To have him playing at this level, they shouldn't take it for granted, and I'm not saying they are, but with this contract now, you are 7 days away, and having him just sit there, basically not contributing everything is a big deal, mainly because you are playing that New York Jets defense. And while I guess they are fortunate that Hassan Reddick isn't playing right now, he's also holding out for his contract with the New York Jets. They still provide a very prominent pass rush with Quinnen Williams, Jermaine Johnson, and all their front sevens, Quincy Williams there on the second level with C.J. Mosley. They're a very aggressive defense because they're able to play a lot of man coverage, mostly because they have Sauce Gardner taking away one side of the field. And now, with that being the case, you overwhelm the 49ers if the Jets just decide to bring a lot of pressure and be extra aggressive because they know that Trent Williams isn't going to be there protecting Brock Purdy's blind side. So this is obviously a big deal. This is obviously still a concern now that we are pretty much starting the NFL regular season already. It doesn't technically start until Thursday with the first game, but this is a practice week. Now everyone's game planning for everything, and you want to know if Trent's going to be there or not. Kyle Shanahan has mentioned before that he is starting the game plan around Trent Williams not being there, but that sounds nice for the first week, and they are playing a tough week one opponent, but Trent doesn't seem like the guy that is going to bluff on a lot of things that he says. It always feels like he means what he's saying. He's not messing around, especially about his contract and on the fact also that he is a veteran player. That isn't something that they would take obviously very lightly. And of course, with him being under contract and everything like that, he is subject to fines. I'm not sure if the 49ers have gone that route just yet. They didn't go that route with Brandon Ayuk, but I'm sure once the regular season starts, we're going to see who, takes the first step, who throws the first punch if the 49ers are going to start fining him, and whether or not that affects anything that Trent Williams decides to do with his holdout. But also, the statements continued on here from Jeremy Fowler, which I thought was pretty interesting as well, that he added. He said, he's the fourth highest paid left tackle right now despite being the best the last few years, and he feels like this could have been addressed a lot earlier, and San Francisco sort of balked on it. He's going to make them wait even longer. And before I address that last part again, or that middle part, where he says that he feels that San Francisco could have addressed this a lot earlier, right now the backup to Trent Williams is set to be Jalen Moore, with Trent Williams being out. So I'm not too familiar with Jalen Moore. I don't know how confident they are in Jalen Moore as a left tackle right away. Of course, it's a drop-off from Trent, but that part there in the statement from Jeremy Fowler where he said that Trent Williams feels that the 49ers could have addressed this a lot earlier and that they sort of balked on it. It brings up the question that I had a couple days ago. I might have addressed it on the show, but in discussing Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams, right? I don't want to say who's more significant just because the 49ers obviously want to keep both of them and would love to extend both of them, but they decided to go with Brandon Ayuk first. He was making causing more of a uproar, more just trouble with his contract extension, you can say. So I can understand why they went with Brandon. That's been carrying out the entire offseason, it seems like, whereas with Trent, no one's really brought up what he's been doing, what he's been saying. He's been kept relatively quiet throughout this whole thing, just waiting for the 49ers to give him more guaranteed money. But back to that question, should they have potentially worked out Trent's deal before Brandon? I probably would have said yes to that, just because it felt like Brandon was already in a situation where you knew the outcome, and I don't think that the 49ers were going to allow Brandon to still be on their team and hold out into the regular season. I thought that was the last outcome. I thought before that they were going to trade him or they were going to figure out an extension. There was no way they were just going to have him sit there and not practice or play in the regular season games. So you had a likely outcome before it started affecting the games that mattered, right? But with Trent Williams, he's obviously not going to go anywhere. And with him, you have him just sitting there, not contributing anything at all towards these games where, again, Jeremy Fowler, and it seems like the main consensus around this is that Trent will have no problem sitting out of these games, and you can get by potentially 1 or 2 games with this, but the longer it carries out, not only is that a distraction like it was with Brandon Ayuk, but it could affect, Brock Purdy, protecting his blind side and everything like that. You want this to go as smoothly as possible, and in a year where there's so much riding on the 49ers, right? There's so much pressure on when they're going to win a Super Bowl, when is Kyle Shanahan going to win a Super Bowl, and looking towards the future now with these extensions. You extend Brandon Ayuk, you're going to have to extend Brock Purdy, and if you give Trent Williams this guaranteed money, which I expect them to do so, how does that affect, Brock's future deal? How does this affect Debo and whether or not you're able to keep him or able to keep anybody else? This year, I mentioned it, I think, on Friday, that this last year could be the final year that you have all these core group of players together under one team, so you have to win it. I said that on Friday. I said that same sentiment, right, that you have to win it this year if you're going to have the same group of players, because in 2025 and probably 2026, you're not going to have a few of these guys because you just can't afford to keep all of them, and Trent is definitely one of them that you'd want to keep, at least as long as he wants to keep playing. And the longer you keep him holding out, it's going to affect the long-term goals, obviously, you have for winning a Super Bowl. And I think just the 49ers now just need to forget about everything other than just winning a Super Bowl, and they have to figure this out. Probably, I would say, today's Monday, so any later than Wednesday, I would really start to have a problem with Trent Williams. Probably not going to be playing that game on Monday because he hasn't had any practice time, and if the contract's not done, he's not going to step foot back on the practice field. So that's where the situation with Trent Williams stands right now, providing a bit of an update from some reporters, giving just an idea of what Trent Williams is feeling like right now, and there's still no indication of when this could get done. They have a day or two, like I just mentioned, for this to get done in a acceptable amount of time for Trent Williams to be ready to go on Monday, but we'll see. That game's going to be huge on Monday against the New York Jets, a good test of where each of these teams are, and you'd like to have all your players there, obviously, but we'll see if Trent Williams will be active or not for that game. But we're not going to move too far off of these contract situations. We're going to go swiftly into another one, very similar, almost identical, with Ja'Marr Chase. Where does he stand on potentially holding out? Will the Cincinnati Bengals give him a contract extension before that becomes a real possibility this week? We're going to get into all of that and what some reports are saying as to what kind of deal Ja'Marr Chase is chasing from the Cincinnati Bengals. So that is coming up right after the break. You're listening to the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast.